I'm just showing you that there are people in the studio when you come and take class, and we're very socially distanced. So there are 6 people in here this morning waving. So um, we're here on Monday morning, the 12th of October, for gentle yoga. So let me know if somebody is out there, if you could, that the sound is okay, that you can hear, so that I know that we're getting through with this microphone. So it is about a minute early too, so you all keep talking for a second. Let's give it time so that we know people are in time to watch. Hey, by the way, I got a new box of masks out there. If you ever, like in class, feel like the mask you have on is like not letting you breathe and you want to put on a disposable, there's a whole new box out there, okay? So help yourselves. Throw them away when you're done. It's fine. So, yeah, I did last time. I know. I don't. That's why I'm asking now. If anybody is out there, I just see. I think one person might be out there. Could you tell me if you can hear? Okay. I can't tell who it is, or this is what it is. But we're gonna start because I'm hoping that people can hear. So sit however is comfortable. You can sit in a chair. You can sit on the floor. You can sit on blankets. And you can even sit against a wall. If you're at home and it feels better to you to be supported at your back, you can sit all the way back against the wall and let yourself, it really feels very good actually. So experiment a little bit. Let yourself get easy in the way you're sitting, in your hips. Any problem hearing, let me know because I'm about to begin now. So sit comfortably and close your eyes. Actually, if you can, let your hands turn palms up so that you release your shoulders down and you just let your palms turn up. But let the hands just curl naturally. Don't put any tension in your hands. Let your hands release and your fingers. And then just watch and be with your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And then on your next exhale, let your thumb and your pointer finger, the tips of your thumbs and pointer fingers touch together. So you make that little connection there. And then just breathe easily. And then let your thumbs and fingers come apart and come to the middle fingers and the thumbs now, the tips just gently touching. And you can support yourself however you need with your hands lying in whatever way feels really good to you. And then just be with your breaths. And then we'll release that and go to your ring fingers and your thumbs. Just gently connecting there, making that little circle there, and feel the breath coming in and going out. And then release and go to the pinkies, the little fingers and the thumbs. And if you need to move your hands around to do that comfortably, let yourself do that. Coming into your breath. And let's release now. Hands out beside us. So if you're on the floor, fingertips can lightly touch the ground there. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And unfold your arms back down beside you now. Let your chin come down towards your chest. Release your head forward and really let go here through the back of the neck. Try to still sit up nice and tall, though, so that you're not rounding your shoulders forward. It's just the head tilting forward. And then inhale the head on back up, and let's let our left ear come towards our left shoulder here. Now, if you can, let your left arm come up and over, and put your hand right on the outside of, like kind of right by your right temple or the side of your head there. But feel the head coming into your hand so that you're not letting the hand pull the head. Instead, you're resisting a little bit with your head. And then we'll ease our way back up. Let the hand come down. We'll go the other side. So right ear towards the right shoulder, right arm coming up and over, hand there to the outside. And then again, press your head gently into your hand. Letting yourself just activate the side of the neck there. And then we're going to release and let our arms come on down. And bring the chin up just a tiny little bit. Just look up a little bit here. And then when you exhale, bring your chin on back down again towards your chest, releasing here. And then let's inhale, bringing our gaze back forward. Take a nice inhale as you lengthen up. And on the exhale, twist to your left. Let your right hand come around, maybe to your left knee, maybe to the midline. Depends on you. Lengthen up through the top of the head now, chin parallel to the floor. And on your inhale, let your back, your left arm, rise up now so that you lengthen up here all the way up through the fingertips. And just let the hands stay up there for a breath or two. Lengthening through the side body in the twist. On your next exhale, lower that left arm back down. You might even want to increase the twist a little bit. One more inhale. And as you exhale, use your belly to bring you back around into center here. Let yourself take a breath here, lengthen upward. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to the right. So bringing your left hand maybe around to your right knee, maybe to the midline. Lengthen up here. And on your inhale, let that back right arm rise up. Again, finding that length through the right side of the body. Press into the feet a little bit. Lengthen up through the top of your head. Good. One more inhale. And on the exhale, lowering that arm on back down, letting yourself come back into your twist. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, use your belly again to bring you on back around into center. And let's release our arms out beside us. Inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And then release, shake out a little bit with your hands. And you might, if you're in your chair, you might want to come a little forward. So stretch your right leg out, whether you're on the floor or in your chair. Now, if you're on the floor, you can fold the left foot into the inside of your leg. If you're in your chair, just keep this foot on the floor. We're going to come on forward a little bit to wake up the back of your right leg. So ease your way. Think of coming forward from your low back. It may not be very far. Same thing in your chair. I mean, you may decide if you're in your chair to put your forearm right there above, left forearm above your knee, and let your right hand slide down your leg more. So same thing on the floor. You go only as far as you choose, as you can. Good. Opening up the back of that leg. One more breath. And then we're going to come on up. We're going to switch legs. So just easily bring that left leg out long and take your time. Get adjusted there. So when you think of coming forward, keeping that length through the spine. Again, if you're in your chair, you can use your hand or your forearm there above that right knee. And take your time. Just enjoy. Feel that heel of that left foot drawing down to the floor back towards you a little bit so you're activated in the whole leg, front and back. Good. And then we're going to rise slowly back up. And sit how you want for a seated forward bend. So if you're on the floor, if you'd rather stretch both legs long, do. If you'd rather be cross-legged, do. Because we're going to come forward. So if you're in your chair, you can separate your feet. So you choose. Take your time. Again, it's coming forward from the low back. Let yourself be mindful. Don't put any undue pressure in the back here. Let it feel good. Those of you in your chair, you're welcome to reach down to your ankles if you want, or put your hands on the floor if that feels good, right? So be mindful. See if you can let yourself release through your face. So one more nice full deep breath. And then we're going to slowly make our way on back up. Take your time as you come on back up and let yourself get comfortable in the way you're sitting. And then bring your hands behind you. So if you're in your chair, you'll have to scoot forward again. And let your fingers interlace back there. Let your hands clasp. Open up here through the front of the chest. Just be easy. See if you can come into a couple of three-part breaths. Inhaling into the belly, then into your ribs, then all the way up into your chest. And when you exhale, imagine the breath coming out of your chest first, then the ribs, and then your belly. And then we'll release our hands. If you're on the floor, you can just bring your fingertips to the floor, or you can lean back flat onto your hands. In the chair, I like to go all the way back and lean back into the back of the chair, but that's up to you. You can also stay forward if you want and drape your arms towards the back of your chair. So just feel good, opening through the front body. Really feel wide across your chest. One more breath. You can look wherever is comfortable for your neck. And then we'll slowly come all the way on back up, sitting nice and tall here. And we're going to come on around towards our hands and knees, or, if you don't want to be on your knees, use your chair. You can turn the seat of the chair around to face you so that you can let yourself be easy there. Take your time. If you're having trouble hearing, tell me something, but it seems like people are on there, so maybe you can hear. Get comfortable, feet or knees right underneath your hips, hands under the shoulders. Spread your fingers nice and wide. And then as you exhale, drawing yourself on up into your cat pose. And when you're ready, on an inhale, send your tailbone back and up. Move your way into your cow. So if you're standing and you have your hands on the chair, your knees might bend and straighten. They can do either one. They can stay either way, bent or straightened, all right? Just so you know, just really focus on the spine moving so that you feel a lot of ease starting at the tailbone, moving up through the spine, whether you're heading into cat or cow. Good. Finish the one you're on. Let yourself come back to more neutral spine here. And we're going to bring our left foot forward and our right foot back and come into lunge. So whether your hands are up on the seat of the chair or maybe you want to use blocks or the floor, remember the blocks have all those heights. So you can use the highest height, the middle height, the lowest height of your blocks. Draw your shoulders down. And let yourself press the feet gently away from each other now so you come a little more up into the hips. And we're going to switch and come to the other side. So again, enjoy now finding the feet, really getting yourself set with that front knee bent no farther forward than your ankle. Feel the feet pressing gently away from each other. Lengthen through the body here. Find that long diagonal line. And we're going to switch legs again. However you choose to do that, whether you step forward or back. Again, pressing those feet away from each other. Draw your shoulders down here now. Let yourself feel the whole body in the pose. And we're going to switch again. So again, get yourself really engaged here. Zip up your low belly. And we'll step forward from here, coming on into standing forward bend, which is very different for each one of us, depending on how you feel, your back feels. You want to use support, use it. You can always put a block up in the seat of your chair if you want to be higher. You can put your elbows above your knees, bend your knees so you're supported by your elbows there above the knees if that feels better, keeping the length more in your low back there. And of course, you're more than welcome to bring your hands down towards the floor of the blocks. Letting that sensation of the backs of the legs just gradually opening up happen. So you're not forcing anything. Let the pose do the work for you. See if you can let yourself release through your face and your jaw. Enjoy the weight of your own head. If you need to move your head around a little bit to do that, you can nod or shake your head a little bit. One more breath. And then let's bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips. We'll rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. So let your chin come down towards your chest and look at your feet for a second, all right? You can probably see your feet down there. Your hands are kind of right there in the middle between your feet, right? And you can look down, see that your feet are pretty even. Then bring your focus back to your hands. And then when you inhale, bring your gaze on back up and forward, whether your eyes are opened or closed, coming into your mountain pose. Feeling that quiet strength. Evenly based between your feet, very light up in your head. As we unfold our arms then down beside us, we're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. Wide V. Let your pinkies turn towards each other. Feel as that happens how your shoulders release down and these muscles that come around underneath your arms come forward. They kind of rat forward. And then you can really release your shoulders. You can look up if you choose to. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll bend the knees and come forward into our standing forward bend. Let your inhale lengthen out your spine. Nice long back. And we'll step our right foot back to come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into downward facing dog pose. Your choice, whether your hands are on the chair or on the blocks or on the floor. So remember, take your time, lengthen out here. Elbows hug a little towards each other. Depending on how your shoulders feel, that depends on you how high you want to be with your hands. And on the next inhale, come out towards a plank. You don't have to go all the way. That's up to you. You can come all the way into a full plank. You can put your forearms onto the ground if you want and do a forearm plank, or you can put your knees down and do a half. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. Let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge, and that putting the left knee down is a fine way to get there if you need to. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. Nice, easy breaths now. Go right to your breaths. Again, use what support you need. See if you can feel the breaths even out. Inhales and exhales coming a little closer to the same length. One more nice full deep breath. And then we'll bring our hands back to our hips, bend our knees, we'll rise up and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's release our arms down beside us. Inhale just your right arm all the way out and up overhead here now. And then turn your palm up so your fingertips are facing towards the midline of the body. Press up there into the heel of the hand. And now let your left hand come up and encircle your right wrist and just gently pull a little more upward. So you're using your left hand to pull up and then over to the side a little bit. And your left hand is really kind of doing the work, right? The left arm. You're just finding that release through the right side of the body. Breathing into that side you're stretching. And then we'll come on back up. Let's lower both arms down beside us here. And now make one big circle. Bring your arms forward and up overhead and as far back behind you as you can. Don't force it. You know that. And lower down. And then we'll inhale the left arm all the way out and up overhead. Turn your palm up. Press up like you're pressing the heel of the hand up into the ceiling there. And then bring the right hand up and over to encircle that left wrist. And again, now the right hand is pulling up and then drawing you over just a little bit so you have lots of space there in the left side of the body. Breathing into that side you're stretching. Think about all those little spaces between your ribs, all those little intercostal muscles there getting a stretch. And then we'll come on back up and we'll release to lower the arms on down. We'll circle backwards with the arms. So reach back first and then let the arms come all the way up overhead and then forward to release on down beside us. And now let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend the knees as we come forward into standing forward bend. Inhale into that long back now. Really find that flat back. Even if your knees bend, it doesn't matter. Finding the spine lengthened out. And we're going to step the left foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So again, take your time. Walk a little bit in your dog. Bend a knee at a time. Feel those elbows hugging towards each other. Find that length of the spine. And on your next inhale, come on out towards that plank. Now, if you like to do a push-up, you're more than welcome to, right? You don't have to do a whole push-up. You can just bend your elbows in towards your ribs and stay there for a breath. And then come back to longer arms if you choose. Whatever you choose to do, let yourself be nice and strong there in that plank. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. And let's bring our left foot forward to find our lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. Nice, easy, deep, full breaths. Now, if you can, and don't do it if it bothers your back, but if you can bring your hands up, clasp them on your low back, do. If that's too much, don't do it. If it hurts your back at all. And then again, just be with those nice, even breaths. Feeling the ribs expand as you inhale. Kind of like an accordion, right? Expanding as you inhale. Coming back in, contracting in as you exhale. Good. And then we'll bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips, press into our feet as we rise up, inhaling our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bringing our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's reverse the arms. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. On the exhale, open the arms like wings as you fold forward. Let your inhale help you find that nice long back now. And we're going to walk into a downward facing dog pose. So whether you like to have your hands up higher or down lower, walk your way into your dog. Elbows hug in. Again, you can walk your dog. Remember, if bending both your knees feels better in down dog, bend both your knees. Find that reaching back equally through the sit bones feeling. And then on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards a plank. Now, you can stay in plank. You can do a push-up if you'd rather. You can go through for a back bend. If you'd like to come onto the floor and do a Sphinx or a Cobra, you can. You can come through for an up dog. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Remember, back bends are optional. Let your head turn a little side to side here. So you're just easily moving through from side to side. And then come back into center with the head. We're going to come back out to plank again. And it is optional to do a back bend. You can stay in plank. You can move down to the floor and then up into a little cobra or a sphinx or an up dog. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. And let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge here. And we'll step our way back into our standing forward bend, releasing there. Now, if you want to hold your elbows, do. If that feels good, again, it's that thing of whether your back allows you to feel good, feeling that full weight, or maybe you need to support yourself with your elbows above your knees or your hands on the blocks or the chair. Full breaths. Good. We're going to release our hands back up to our hips as we bend our knees and rise on up. Inhaling our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Enjoy a couple of breaths here. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Take your time. Let the body find its way into mountain pose. And I mean, sometimes it feels good to sway around a little bit to get yourself evened out between the sides of the body, the front and the back of your body. Good. We're going to go ahead and unfold our arms on down beside us. Shake out your hands a little bit. Move around if you need to walk around, do. And we're going to come into turning our chair around if we're using our chair. Have your blocks forward, okay? Because we're going to step into a lunge, stepping our left foot forward and our right foot back. When you do this, if you want to stay up high, do. If you want to go down to blocks, do. But be aware we're going to lift up from this lunge, all right? So instead of a warrior one, it's going to be a crescent, which is a variation of warrior one where your heel's off the floor. So that might mean you want to widen your feet a little bit more, right? So widening the feet can help. Shortening the stance can help, right? Or having your hands up higher can make it a little more doable, right? And maybe you're just going to think about doing this. So don't force it, but if you can, think about rising your shoulders up over your hips and coming up to standing where you're in a lunge with your heel reaching directly behind you. And if you're in a shorter or a longer stance, it makes a difference, right? It's not an easy pose to do. And widening your stance can help you to get a broader base. And if you're like, yeah, no way, I'm not doing this at all, just stay forward. Have your hands like on your thighs, one hand down to a block. You can rise your arms up overhead if you want. It's a hard pose. We're going to come on back down with the hands. We're going to find lunge, and we're going to add a little twist here in our lunge. So let your left hand come onto your left hip and go ahead and roll that shoulder up. Hand can stay on your low back. You can stretch your left arm up if you want. Take your time. Let yourself just enjoy reaching through that inner right heel back there, lengthening out through the top of your head. And then we'll bring our left hand on back down. We're going to step forward, get our feet right underneath us. And then we'll bend our knees and rise up. We're going to inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Couple of breaths in mountain pose, bringing that gaze on forward. And then release, shake it out a little bit. We're going to do the other side. So right foot steps forward, left foot steps back. This is the time that I love having a chair because I'm telling you, it makes a difference to start up higher than to start down here, right? But separating your feet, if you need to actually shorten your stance, right? So, I mean, your heel, your back heel can be on the floor if you need it to be, but try to think about the heel being directly behind your foot instead of inward for the traditional warrior one. So it's a different feeling than the warrior one where your back heel hikes in, right? So take your time. You don't have to come up. You can if you choose. You can think about hands to the heart or bringing your arms up overhead if you want. Feeling that openness in the front of the left hip. And finding a focal point that helps you to keep your balance here. And then we're going to release. Bring our hands down. Come to your full lunge, so you might want to adjust the length of your lunge here now, and we're going to add that twist. So right hand comes to the right hip, and you're going to roll that shoulder up as you bring your hand either to your low back or reach your right arm up. So if your shoulder bothers you, keep your hand down. Let yourself find a sense of being fairly level here in your hips. Good. And then we'll bring the hand on back down. We're going to step forward, get our feet right underneath us. Come into your standing forward bend for a couple of breaths. Let your head move around a little bit if you can. And then we'll bend our knees, press equally into our feet, rising up, inhaling our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bringing our hands down together in front of our hearts. Enjoy your mountain pose here. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Feel that connection between each of your fingers, your thumbs, whatever part of your palms touch. But let it feel easy. The same thing with your feet in the floor. Feeling very even. Even think about your toes now. How they're resting on the floor. Not gripping, but resting. And then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us. Shake out a little bit. Move around if you need to, through your feet especially. And we're going to come into Warrior Two this time. So stepping the right foot back. Now, having your blocks forward at the front of your mat. Make sure, because you're going to need them in a second. So get yourself set up. Line up those heels. Take your time. Get yourself into the alignment of that front knee. And then we'll start to reach our arms on up and out. Once you get your arms out, let your hands circle around. Just circle your hands in one direction and then stop and circle them in the other direction. And then start to reach out now through those fingertips. Soften the shoulders down. If you have to kind of lift your shoulders, shrug them a little bit, do. Letting them release down and then starting to reach equally out through both sets of fingertips as you turn to look over the top of your left hand, if your neck allows. Feet equal in the floor here. Good. Now from here, we're going to straighten the front knee out, okay? And we're going to turn to face the front of our mat, coming in towards squaring our hips. So for a lot of us, Warrior Two is too long. We might have to step that back foot in to get our hips around square to the front of the mat. We're going to come into pyramid from here. So let your hands come behind you for a second. Clasp your hands. Let the hands slide down as low as they can go. And then start to come a little tiny bit forward. Feel your thighs engaging upward. And that's a lot of work, even if you just move forward a few inches. You can go farther if you want with your hands back there or not. You can decide, well, I'd much rather put my hands down to give me support right away. So you're more than welcome. You can release your hands to the chair back or the chair seat. So take your time coming into your pyramid pose. Adjust where you want your hands to be, what height. And then just feel those thighs engaging up towards the hips and zip up your low belly. And now put your hands down if they're not already. And let yourself, if you need to, adjust your stance. Feel the thighs lifting up towards the hips. Good. Now from here, we're going to bring our left hand up to our hip and then just turn into a little twist there, rotating that left shoulder up. You can keep your hand right there on your low back. You may decide that you want to let the hand come up. If you want to stretch your arm up, you can. Totally optional. And then we'll release and come on back down with the hand. Take one more breath there. If you want to fold over your leg, by all means do. And then we're going to bend into the front knee. Step forward to get your feet right under you. Now you want your hands either on the chair or the blocks, right under your shoulders here. Go to the highest height if you got your hands on blocks, okay? But you can be on the seat of the chair. Bring your feet a little closer together and bend both your knees. And then lift your right foot up off the floor. And we're going to stretch the leg back into Warrior Three. So the toes are facing down. Get yourself comfortable there. Now, for a second, bend both your knees. Both knees are bending, and then they're both going to straighten. So again, bend both your knees. Let that right foot come up like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling, and then straighten both legs. I know it's intense. One more time. Bend both your knees, and then let yourself come to longer legs. Now, I know sometimes it's really hard to straighten both legs. You don't need to go fully straight, but feel like you're trying at least. And now see if you want to reach your left arm forward at all. You can or not. Come into just a little bit more there if you want. You can bend that left knee anytime you choose. Strong pose, warrior 3, one more breath. And then we're going to bring the hand down, we're going to bring the foot down, separate your feet towards the outside edges of your mat, and then release your elbows to above your knees as you squat down a little bit. Let your back and your hips release there. Good. And then we're going to release to come on back up. Take your time, bring your feet together, shake it out a little bit, and we're going to do the other side. So this time, left foot steps back. So again, you can have your chair, you can have your blocks, you can have both. Step that left foot back and line up those heels for warrior 2. And make sure, again, that alignment of that front knee is there. Really be mindful here as you rise those arms on up again and let your hands circle again. Let your hands make circles one way and then the other. And then just open and close your hands a little bit into fists and open and close, right? Shake them out a little bit too. And then just start to reach out very easily through the fingertips, softening the tops of the shoulders as you look out over the top of that right hand. Feel energy in the back hand as well as you reach out through the fingertips. Strong pose. Good. And then we're going to straighten the front knee out. Now, when you do turn to square the shoulders, you have to adjust that back heel, right? The back heel is still going to be on the floor, but it rotates back a little further for you to get set up here for both legs straight, and then bringing our hands behind us to come into that pyramid pose. So thighs are engaging upward. And again, you may just want to go 1 inch and stay there. There's a lot of work going on here in the legs, obviously, in the hips. Lengthening out through the spine. So again, how far you go with your hands back behind you, up to you. And when you're ready to put your hands down, you again decide what height you want to be, right? So once your hands go down, sometimes it's necessary, it feels a lot better to adjust your stance. It can get longer or shorter. You still want that back heel on the floor. You still want your thighs lifting up, and you want to feel as long as you can through the body here. Like you're equal through the sides of your body. Good. One more breath before we now add that right hand on up to the right hip and rotate upward with that right shoulder if you can. You're trying to really feel the outside of that right leg probably. Enjoy whether you lift the right arm up or keep the hand down. Enjoy that twist in the middle of your back, this evenness here at your sacrum. And then we'll release and come on back down with the hand. If you want to fold over that front leg, you can. If it feels like a relief, go for it. Good. One more breath. And then bring your hands on back forward so you can bend that front knee and step forward with that left foot. Get your feet underneath you. And now release to have your hands under your shoulders, however you want them, on your chair or on your blocks. And bend both your knees, because from here we're going to lift the left foot up in the air. And we're going to stretch it back behind us. Warrior 3, toes are down. Attempt to get your legs straight here for a second. And now bend both your knees. Bend the one you're standing on as well as that top left knee. And then come back into your warrior 3. So again, bending both the knees. And then stretching into long legs. And then one more time, bending both knees, very strengthening. And then coming into as straight as you can. Now, if you want to release your right arm, stretching it forward, you can. Don't have to add that. Totally depends on you. Be where you can. Good. And then we'll bring the hand down, bring the foot down, separate the feet wider again on your mat, and shift your hips back as you bring your elbows above your knees. Now, some of you may even decide you want to hold your ankles, fold forward more. That's up to you. So paying attention to how your back feels. If anybody wants to squat all the way down, you're more than welcome to come all the way down and come into a squat if it releases more for you into your back and your hips and it's not too much for you, for your hips or your knees. Nice. And we're going to come on back up to standing. So adjusting however you need to get your feet back under you. And then we'll press into our feet, rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Enjoy feeling that energy flowing through the body now, coming into your mountain pose. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down. Good. Shake out a little bit. And we are going to bring our mats into a wall here at the studio. So at home, if you have a little bit of a wall do, we're not going to do a whole lot. So, don't have to worry too much about it. Just let yourself maybe find a little space at the wall. And we're going to turn and let ourselves bring our hands into a wall and step back into a plank. Now, if your wrists bother you doing this plank at the wall, go to fists, right? And if that feels really bad, you can come to forearms and do a forearm plank if you'd rather. So look at your own feet. So you might have to shift your hips back and see your feet. Be parallel. Make sure you're not turning your toes out. So get parallel with your feet. And then go ahead and bring your gaze on back towards the wall between your hands there. And think about getting your pointer fingers parallel to each other. Feel your elbows hugging in a little bit, like you're hugging a beach ball between your elbows. And then go ahead and bend your elbows. Come towards the wall a little bit. And then come on back up into your plank. So if you need to adjust your feet when you start doing these little push-ups, go right ahead and adjust yourself. And you don't have to go all the way to the wall. You may just want to bend your elbows just a little bit and then come back. But just let yourself find that upper body strength there, feeling your arms, your biceps, your shoulders. And then finish off the one you're on. And then bend your knees, shift your hips back. Now you can come into down dog a little higher. You don't have to go parallel to the floor with the body. Or you may want to walk your hands down and get yourself to where your 90-degree angle at your hips there. Elbows hugging inward. But just lengthen the spine wherever you can be. Don't force anything. Feel your sit bones reaching back. There's a sense of a natural curve in your low back here. One more breath. Nice. And then we're going to walk back up towards the wall. We're going to turn around back to the wall and walk our feet out enough. Then feet are parallel, hips distance apart. When you bend your knees, don't let them go beyond your toes. So if you want to go like pretty low and really get a little more into the quads, you just have to step your feet out a little further. Think about your inner thighs melting downward towards the ground. That helps line up your knees. And then bring your arms on out and see if you can. Now, if you start to go, oh, my legs can't do this any longer, you can give yourself relief and come up higher, right, anytime you want. So do like you're doing goddess arms. Press the backs of the arms and the backs of your hands into the wall here. Spread your fingers a little bit. And then bring your left arm on top of your right. Give yourself a hug. You might even want to go into half eagle or eagle wrap with your arms. Or you can stay hugging, whatever feels the best for your shoulders. So let yourself release there. Feel your tailbone dropping down. Just make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward, right? You have a natural curve in your low back, so it's not into the wall. One more breath. And then release to open the arms back to those goddess arms for a second. Feeling the back of the hands pressing into the wall if you can. The backs of the elbows, the shoulders if you can. And then we'll bring the right arm over the left. Hug yourself again. Elbows can release down. You can stay right here. Or you can head towards half eagle, the back of that left hand to the outside of the right elbow. And if your legs are saying, oh, good grief, just straighten them up a little bit. And then that takes it out of the thighs there. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to release. Bring your hands just to meet in front of your heart, coming into prayer hands here. And then come forward with a nice long back, like you're in a chair pose, right? So you can bend your knees a little bit more or not. You can stay where you are. Take your time. If you want to go a little more with the body and keep yourself still into the legs, but you are able to bring your left elbow around towards your right knee into a twist. You can rest the elbow on the knee if you want, or you can stay up higher. Press that left sit bone into the wall. And then come on back into center. And we'll go the other way. So you can stay up high and just think about reaching the right elbow towards that left knee. You can come down. You still want to stay even in your legs. That's the hard part. Press your sit bones into the wall. Lengthen out through the top of your head. Good. And then we'll come on back. Elbows above the knees if you can. Take a break there. Anybody who wants to fold over your legs, go for it. So if you want to come into straighter legs, put your hands down on your ankles. You can, on your tops of your feet, you can let yourself come forward. Again, that's optional. Don't force it. One more breath. And then bend your knees so that when you rise back up, you can just walk your feet then back in towards the wall. And move around a little bit. Move around through your feet. We're going to come on down onto the floor, onto our bellies. So let yourself come on down. And rest there with your, if you can, make that little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead on your hands stacked up. And just breathe. And kind of wiggle your hips around a little bit. Like let yourself shift a little side to side with your hips. Let your legs release so your feet kind of get flippy-floppy a little bit. And then come on back into center and see if you can just let your legs release however they feel good, whether the heels want to hike outward or inward. And let yourself breathe into your low back. Nice full breaths. Good. And let's come on up to a little Sphinx pose. Now, bringing the elbows underneath the shoulders. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Really feel your thumbs and your pinkies into the mat there. And then individually each of your other fingers too, so that you're really feeling your hands into the floor here. And if it's too much in your back, come down, slide the elbows more towards your waist or even more towards the front of your mat, either one. And see if you can just imagine inhaling, feeling this uplift, starting at the navel, rising up through the chest. And then we're going to release down. And from here, stretch your arms into a wide V, like you're reaching towards the front corners of your mat. And we're going to let ourselves think about, on the next inhale, rising our right arm and our left leg and our head up. So when you inhale, opposite arm and leg are going to rise up a little bit, your chest too. And then when you exhale, you're going to come back down. And we're going to go the other arm and leg. Inhale, opposite arm and leg up. And then as you exhale, come down. It doesn't mean it has to be far. Go back again to the first side. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. And other side, inhaling up. And exhaling down. Now, if you really want to go for it, go both arms, both legs, inhaling up. Exhaling, coming down. One more time, inhaling up, hard locust. Nice. Exhaling, coming back down. Nice. We're going to come on back towards child's pose. Shifting yourself on back. Big toes together, knees apart. And once you get there, you decide if you need to keep your arms overhead. You can always shift more to the arms than the hips going backward if you need. Or you can leave your arms soft overhead or bring them back alongside your legs, palms up. But nice full breaths here. Let yourself feel the breaths coming into the low back. Feeling the breath expand the low back, letting yourself soften your face. Good. One more breath. And now bringing your hands on back by your knees, press your way on up around to sitting. So if you know sitting is better off done on a blanket for you, grab a blanket. Sit on a blanket. We're just going to do a classic seated forward bend with our legs long in front of us. So see how we feel after class, coming into a forward bend at the beginning of class and then towards the end of class. It usually feels quite different. So if you can, think of sending your inner thighs down towards the ground. You can kind of shift and imagine your inner thighs going downward, and that gets your sits bones really down into the ground there. Toes are up. You can put roll blankets under your knees, remember, to give yourself a little break to come forward. So as you come forward from your low back, take your time. You may want to reach for your feet. You may want to have your hands on your legs or beside your legs. But just take your time. Let your eyes close. Be with your breath. So imagine when you inhale that you lengthen, starting at the base of your spine. The inhale starts at the bottom and rises up to lengthen your spine. And then as the exhale happens, you can just imagine yourself coming a little farther forward. Doesn't mean you actually come physically forward, but you can imagine that you do. Good. Really following the breaths all the way in, all the way out. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to make our way on back up. Bring your hands back and bend your knees now. Separate your feet a little wider. And then just let your knees come from one side to the other. So when you inhale, the knees come up. When you exhale, they go to one side. And it doesn't matter how low. You don't have to go all the way down like I'm doing. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it. If it feels better just to kind of stay up like this and go from side to side, or if it feels good to let the knees lower down, do. So releasing through the hips here. If you go pretty low, you might feel like this top hip, get a little more openness here in the front of your hips. And then finish off the one you're on. Come on back into center here. Now, this is up to you. You can stay right here with your hands behind you and open your chest. You don't have to lift up. Four-footed table is very optional. You can stay with the hands turned outward so that they're turned about 45 degrees, or you can turn your fingertips where they face forward, and you can decide if you want to think of lifting up with your hips or not. And, you know, if your wrists say no, don't do it, but also your shoulders. And the shoulders can feel very different if your hands are turned differently. So sometimes, you know, it feels fine if you're turned one way and not the other. So you can try both ways, pick your favorite, and then you can see if you can stay for just a little bit when you're there. Otherwise, just let the chest come forward. Let yourself be comfortable there. Don't force anything. Good. One more breath. And then we'll come on back down. And now from here, hold on behind your thighs here. Walk your feet back a little bit. Lean back a little into a little boat pose. Float your feet on up if you can. Now, I like to sometimes clasp my hands together so that when I'm here, I can really kind of let my legs release. I'm using my arms pretty big time, but it helps keep me from overly gripping in this pose in the front of my hips. So, sometimes that's fun. You can let your legs come longer, of course, if you want. I mean, you can think about bringing the legs up as long as you can if you choose. You can also keep your feet on the floor and stay right here, thinking of the chest coming forward, right? That engages the core of the body there. So you play where you want to play, and if you want to let go, you let go. So when you do let go, oftentimes you feel this kind of grippiness, and, just play with it. Let it feel fun. Boat pose, it engages the back and the belly, but you want to be careful that you're not over-engaging your low back, right? So be where you can. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bring our feet down and let the knees separate and come on into a little relieving Badakanasana. So soles of the feet together here now. You can have your feet way out. If that feels better in your hips, your knees might be way up because that's how you're built in your hips. It doesn't matter where your knees go to. And you can decide if coming forward a little bit feels like a big relief to you, or maybe you prefer just to sit up tall. You can always put your hands behind you too and let yourself sit up tall and just let the hips open that way. If it's a relief for your low back to come forward, you can, if that feels good, right? Nice. Easy breaths. Watching your breaths all the way in, all the way out. Good. One more breath. And as you start to come on back up, be mindful. You can use your hands to help your knees come on back. Stretch your legs on out. And we're going to come on down onto our backs on the floor. Before you go down, have a block handy in case you want one. And then just let yourself release on down onto your back on the floor. Bring your knees in towards your chest once you get settled in. Let the knees nestle in. And see if you can cross one ankle over the other. Doesn't matter which one. But you're crossed at your ankles. And then just kind of hug gently your legs in towards you. Let your back release. Some of you might even want to reach around the outside of your legs and hold on to your feet, if that feels good. If not, don't do it. Just kind of let yourself hold more by your shins or your knees. And then we're going to switch the cross of the legs. So come into that other cross, and again, you can let your hands come to your feet if that feels good. It really makes your low back release down into the mat, right? Whether you're holding your knees or your shins or you're reaching for your feet. And you can kind of go side to side too. If it feels good for you, you can let your knees and your legs shift a little. Roll through that low back if it's a relief. Good. And then we'll release to come on down with the feet to the floor. And set your feet up for a bridge pose here. So remember, you want your feet a little wider than mountain pose. They're still parallel. You can bring your heels in to where you can touch your heels with your hands when your arms are down alongside you, or you may want your heels a little farther away from you. So take your time. You won't know you rise up really. Bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Press into the backs of your arms. Roll your shoulders under. And go ahead and float your hips on up. Maybe it's a little bit. Maybe it's higher. You can come up. If it doesn't feel like your feet are quite right placed, then come down and readjust. Keep pressing into the backs of the arms. Maybe roll those shoulders under more. Get the elbows a little closer towards each other. You can stretch your arms long if you want. If you're like, I really would rather get a block and rest in supported bridge, you can come down on a block any height, right? Lowest, middle. You can grab 2 blocks and stack 2 up if you want to be really high. You can go to the highest height of a block too, but it's a little more unstable. So if it feels good to rest, rest. And sometimes it's fun to move with a block under you. Lift up off of it and come back down onto it. Sometimes even being able to get up higher on the block after you've practiced your bridge for a little bit. So anybody who feels like doing a upward facing bow pose right now, you can come down off the block, come to the floor, and then put your hands above your shoulders and press up into a back bend if you choose. Or you can rest on that block and just let yourself rest and release there. Several of you are on a block. So if you like to do a little more of a hip opener, if you're lying on a block, you can stretch one leg long and let the toes face up and feel a little more openness in the front of that hip of that leg that's long. You don't have to do those. That's just something if it feels really good to you. You can do both legs at the same time too. And not everybody likes those, so again, play a little bit. It's fine to come down whenever you want. You can always rest and go back up, or you can come down and stay down. So once you do get ready to come down, if you're on that block, be mindful as you come on down. Release yourself on down to the floor. Bring your knees in gently towards your chest. And let the knees come a little bit side to side. And then let your feet come back to the floor. Bring your arms out beside you into a T position. Let your palms face up. Let your elbows feel really soft. Let yourself feel released up into your shoulders. And now, the feet are still on the floor, kind of like you're going to do bridge pose. Let your knees come over towards the left. And then see if you can let the right knee come up towards your chest a little bit more. And keep the right toes on the floor, like the outside of the foot gently into the floor there. The knee is bent. Just let yourself, if that's too much of a twist, don't do it. Don't bring that right leg over for the toe to touch the floor, right? You can let yourself just stay with the feet where they were. Let that right shoulder release towards the mat. You can turn your head to look to the right if you want. And now let yourself release. Come back to center. Let the belly help you get all the way back into center. And then we're going to bring the knees over to the right. And again, you can stay. You don't have to do anything with that left foot. If you want the left foot to come on out to the side and up a little bit more with your resting kind of on the outside of that left big toe mound there a little bit, you can turn your head to look to the left. One more breath. And now again, to come on back into center, use your belly a little bit. Bring your feet to the floor and kind of straighten your spine out. Make sure you kind of get straightened out there. Then bring your knees on in towards your chest. And let yourself open into what we did seated, a Badakanasana. Soles of the feet towards each other, knees apart. You can have your hands on your shins or your ankles. You can wrap your hands around the outside of the feet if you're able to do that. but just let it feel like a huge release. You can always send your tailbone down a little bit more. Let the knees reach away from each other. You might get just a little more into your inner thighs that way. So be mindful. Let it feel good. Let your back and your hips feel good, your low back. And then you can bring your knees on back in, stretch your legs up, let the legs go into like a cross-country skiing kind of movement up there a little bit. And start to listen to your own body. You know, you may decide, oh, what I really want to do is stretch out. What I really want to do is bring my legs into a wide angle. There can be any number of things that you feel that your body would feel better in doing right now. So take your time. Let yourself be mindful as you start to release in whatever way that your body is going to be able to feel better for Shavasana. And I'm going to start to get some lights and then come around for people in the studio to have any kind of support that you need. Remember at home, if your back feels iffy, if you put a little bit of something under your knees, a rolled blanket, a bolster if you have one, a pillow, but a pretty firm one would be better if you're going to have a pillow. So what it does is it just allows you to change the angle of your pelvis a little bit. You can adjust it however you want underneath your knees. Sneaking up on you. So be mindful. There you go. You're welcome. Take your time. Let yourself, if you need to adjust your arms or your legs to a little bit different place in order to be comfortable, up into your shoulders and your hips. Feeling that firmness of the ground, the best part really. Then you can really release into that firmness of the floor as you come to be with your own breath. There's no right or wrong way to breathe. So see if you can just watch the waves coming in and going out of your breath. And if the breath needs to become a little bit deeper or a little bit more shallow, it's fine. And just see if you can keep returning to your breath, even when your mind wants to go off into thinking. And it will. And see if you can just come back again and again and again to the breaths in and out. And allow yourself to completely and fully relax. easily start to let yourself feel your breath coming in a little more deeply and fully again. Feeling the movement as you breathe in and out, actually the physical movement of the body on your inhales and exhales. And allow your deeper breaths to bring you back into wanting to move again. Your fingers and your toes, if you can, let them lead you into moving. Your hands and your feet, arms and legs, when you're ready, let yourself come back to moving however feels natural and easy. If you'd like to stay on your back, do. If you'd like to roll onto either your right or your left side, if that helps you to be able to transition a little bit there by rolling to your side, by all means, you can stay on your side and enjoy the ground a little longer. And of course, when you're ready to rise up to sitting, let that feel pretty easy too if you can. Sitting however is comfortable, let your eyes close if you can. Let the head float up there on top very weightlessly so that you feel that sense of very easily being able to sit up tall. The top of the head is reaching upward. Your sit bones are reaching down towards the floor. And watch your breath coming in and going out again. And let your next exhale bring your hands gently to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Monday.